Here are the ground rules for this forum, to which the candidates have already agreed. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 1 minute each for a closing statement. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions, which are collected from the public and read by the moderator. Reviewers check the questions for readability and for duplication. Questions that personally attack a candidate will not be used. Candidate Kevin Ryan is unable to attend the forum tonight, but he did submit a statement as per our ground rules, and I will go ahead and read that for him now. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this evening's candidate forum. It is with great regret that I am unable to attend in person, as I am currently in New York serving in my capacity as a board member to the nonprofit Healthcare Executive Group. Many of you will be familiar with my voice as a frequent advocate to this board on behalf of my friends and neighbors who would like to see increased leadership from the town. As a trustee, I will provide the following: improved community engagement and transparency. There have been too many surprises for residents like the one this past winter when we learned that the board had set aside nearly $3 million for an expansion of Town Hall. As a trustee, I will collaborate with the mayor, fellow trustees, staff, and residents to create a community engagement committee to ensure no more surprises. Oversight of the town center developer. The development that is progressing in town center bears little resemblance to the planning document that we as a town supported in 2013. For example, our first hotel will be an economy hotel, which differs greatly from the images of the St. Julian that Ranch Capital included in their PD. We must be diligent to ensure future enhancements are of the caliber we were promised and that the residents demand. Incentives to attract small businesses. We have a thriving community of entrepreneurs who are working remotely or commuting to nearby towns who desire an increased business presence in Superior. Federal programs like the Small Business Innovation Research Program encourage participation in innovation and entrepreneurship. As a trustee, I will encourage staff to collaborate with our local entrepreneurs for federal dollars. A focus on pedestrian and bicycle safety. Pedestrian and bicycle safety is often considered as an afterthought to major projects like the El Dorado Park development, traffic circles on McCaslin Boulevard, and the Marshall Road extension. Pedestrian and bicycle access and safety must be considered first. Thank you for your time and consideration, and my apologies for being unable to attend in person. Best regards, Kevin Ryan. And I will also note that candidate Narayan Shrestha is also unable to attend but did not supply a statement to us tonight. So we'll begin the forum tonight with opening statements. Candidates are seated according to how their names appear on the ballot. You each have 2 minutes for your first statement, and we'll start with Mr. Reese.
Thank you. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight, and to everyone here in attendance and those watching on TV. My name is Jason Reese, and I'm running for trustee because I feel the most important contribution I can make with my energy, my time, and experiences to the youth of this town, the youth of this area, and not only that, but to this, the town ourselves. My wife, Shannon Reese, and I are longtime residents of Superior with deep roots in the community. We live in the same house that we purchased in 2002. Both of our children, Aiden and Ainsley, grew up here and have attended the neighborhood schools, El Dorado K-8 and now Monarch High School. I've always felt that it's an obligation to give back to the community which I've been living in, and I've spent the last 10 years coaching youth, supporting the Morgul Classic, the Chili Fest, and my first 5 years in town worked on the HOA, the Architectural Review Committee. And now a planning commissioner. Let's see. Other things that I would really like to just let everybody know that we know that it's a vital time in the development of our town, and I want Superior to remain the place my kids are proud of, to say that they've spent their entire lives where they grew up, and as a result of that, I want them to return as adults and raise their own family.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Ms. Hammerly.
Good evening. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters in the Town of Superior for allowing me to share my thoughts this evening. My name is Sandy Hammerly, and after 30 years of inclusive leadership of local, national, and international nonprofit organizations, I ask for the support of Superior residents in my bid to become a member of your Board of Trustees and to listen and represent you in every decision I make. As a member of Superior's Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, PROSTAC, for the past 4 years, and the last 3 as Vice Chair, I have been a strong advocate for town engagement of residents in decisions on the school parcel and Superior Town Center parks, as well as research related to indoor recreation and civic space needs, as well as the expansion of Town Hall. I am the only candidate who, in preparation for my candidacy, has attended more than 75% of board meetings and retreats for the past year, providing comments as necessary, but always listening and learning. I am also the only candidate who attended all 3 2017 budget meetings. I am ready to hit the ground running. Having been an integral part of the Summit at Rock Creek during its successful construction defect litigation, I'm a strong advocate for ensuring that property owner rights are protected. I hope to ensure that through responsible development, Superior listens and responds to our current residents and protects our future ones. For more than 15 years, my professional career as a nonprofit executive has been focused on prudent use of limited financial resources. I commit to use the same skills as a member of the board to ensure that our hunger for new products and services in Superior does not outweigh the stomach of our constituents to pay for them. Although pending development of Town Center and other town parcels holds great promise for Superior, I vow to be independent in my decisions, to advocate for transparency, and to apply the sometimes messy scrutiny to ensure that proposals and products presented comply with town policies and procedures.
Thank you, Ms. Hammerly. Mr. Lasis.
Good evening. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event tonight and all the residents who are here tonight and who are watching at home. 5 years ago, something wonderful happened to me. I became a father to twin boys, Dylan and Jackson. Back then, my wife and I were living in Denver trying to be cool urban parents, but we soon realized that that was not us. I remember one day I was trying to get my boys to nap, and at the time they'd only nap in the car, so I strapped them in their car seats and headed up 36 towards Boulder. I don't know why I got off at McCaslin, but I did. And I drove through Superior and saw beautiful neighborhoods, schools, kids riding their bikes, families playing in parks, and I immediately felt at home. And I knew that this was where I was going to raise my boys. 1 week later, we were under contract on a house. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Lasis, and I want to be your next trustee. I am an attorney and partner at one of Colorado's oldest law firms. I'm a business lawyer. I represent clients at trial, in contract negotiations, and advocate on their behalf to help them resolve complicated disputes. I'm also a volunteer. I serve as Governor Hickenlooper's appointee to the Judicial Performance Commission in Boulder and serve on the Colorado Bar Association's Ethics Committee. I also serve as a planning commissioner here in Superior, where I review and make recommendations to the Board of Trustees on decisions regarding land use, transportation, and development plans, all things that affect our future as a community. While we may have many challenges ahead with the development of the town center, the potential town hall expansion, and our high commercial vacancy rate, I am extremely excited and optimistic for our future as a community. I want my kids to grow up in the greatest community possible, and I am committed to making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lasis. Ms. Dunham.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and the residents of the town of Superior. My name is Patricia Dunham. I have lived in Superior for the last 4 years with my husband and our 2 sons who attend Eldorado K-8. Since moving here, I have embraced all that Superior has to offer and have been committed to our community. I have a master's degree in management and currently work as a project manager in the healthcare industry. For the last 3 years, I have served as a member of the Open Space Advisory Committee, most recently as the vice chair. During that time, OSAC has sponsored the National Trails Day event, implemented educational programming, gave recommendations on concept and development plans to the board, reviewed and acquired land for open space use, and expedited trail recommendations. In the next few years, there will be many opportunities and challenges facing our town that the Board of Trustees will need to decide. For example, is it time for a town hall expansion? Do we have the right mixture of town FTEs versus outsourcing services? How will the Rocky Mountain Greenway project and proposed trails on the Rocky Flats Wildlife Preserve affect our town? Reviewing Superior Town Center development plans along with any other development projects while making sure that this reflects our town vision. Attracting appropriate revenue sources for the town to increase our revenue, and how we maintain our current amenities, and is it time to commit to building an indoor recreation facility. If elected, I commit to explore any issue put forth to the board by providing meticulous review while balancing growth, fiscal responsibility, our residents' health and safety as we enjoy all that the great town of Superior has to offer. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Dunham. Ms. Forshee.
My name is Gladys Murray Forshee, a widowed semi-retired resident of Original Superior, of coal mining roots and property owner since 1970. My choice to achieve a position on the Board of Trustees, Town of Superior, Boulder County, Colorado, is to serve and stand up for the rights of Town of Superior residents. My entire professional career has been within the service arena: insurance agent, janitorial business, local, county, federal government, multi-level positions, and self-publishing. My mother's native heritage and my father being a sharecropper and their attempt of my Christian upbringing was bred into me to be of service to others, thus my extensive multi-arena community service over my lifetime. From original town era to present 21st century, there are arenas of local government that have been created, and I have proof, of illegal government for residents. I'm asking for your vote to work and stop and correct those civil rights violations of the Town of Superior, Boulder County, Colorado residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Forshee. Mr. Stewart.
Yes, hello and good evening, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for providing this forum for the candidates. My name is Anthony Stewart, and I am running for a seat on the Board of Trustees for the Town of Superior. Having moved my family here in 1996, I am a 20-year resident of this beautiful town, and I absolutely love it. My wife, Carrie, and I have 3 children, ages 21, 17, and 14, and they have all attended our community schools and are all doing well. Our older children are pursuing higher education. I am a small business owner and entrepreneur and have been so for 18 years. I've been fortunate in my business, and I have made decisions regarding my business on day-to-day operations that are oftentimes very tough and not very popular. As a result, I think as a trustee, I would also be able to make those decisions that are tough and not so popular. My volunteer experience spans many years. I have served my community by engaging in activities that I am passionate about. I'm a volunteer coach for youth sports, including football, baseball, and basketball. I was a founding member of the Superior Chamber of Commerce and remain an active member to this day. I have been appointed to and currently serve on our town's planning commission, a position that has allowed me to help direct and mold the direction that our town is taking. I'm a former board member for a Boulder County nonprofit organization and have served on several advisory boards and many commissions. I'm running for a position on the board because I believe that my vision for future Superior resembles those of my neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Melia.
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. My wife Elisa and I relocated from, relocated to Denver from Washington, D.C. in 1998. We lived in Boulder and in Montclair and Denver before moving to Superior in 2006 with our children, James, Ryan, and Lila. Prior to becoming a realtor with Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage in 2002, I sold new homes for the Golden Design Group. As a registered Democrat, I have served the town of Superior since 2014 as a planning commissioner, and I have volunteered for events with Rock Creek Master HOA, the town of Superior, Superior Elementary School, El Dorado K-8, Mustangs football, Boulder Valley lacrosse, Monarch Little League, and the Boulder Valley YMCA. While living in Montclair, I was an at-large board member for the historic Montclair Community Association. For several years, organizing advertising for their newsletter, acting as their landmark commission liaison, and volunteering for several community events over the years. I enjoy being actively and visibly connected to my community. After graduating from Gonzaga College High School in Washington, D.C., I graduated from Regis University in Denver, Colorado. In my view, the most pressing issue I see that the town is facing is the development of the town center. This development will bring a huge economic boon to the town of Superior, economic growth, revenue for our town, as well as new challenges. Maintaining reasonable and responsible growth is necessary for the benefit of everyone in our community. Since moving to Colorado in 1998, I have been actively and visibly involved with every community I've lived in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malia. Now for the first question, we'll start with Ms. Hammerly and go all the way around and with Mr. Reese. The first question is, how will you ensure transparency to decisions made by the Board of Trustees? And you each have 1 minute to answer the question.
As a member of both the Summit at Rock Creek and the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, I have always been comfortable with sharing with my residents throughout the town and in the Summit with the decisions we make and in publishing all information that is relevant to decisions we make. I would like to see us implement a monthly or quarterly forum at Town Hall so that board members can meet with members on an informal basis.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis?
Thank you. We have a very active community here who cares deeply about transparency in government and good government. As a member of the Colorado Bar Association's Ethics Committee and as the Ethics Counsel to my law firm, I care deeply about ethics, about transparency, and about avoiding conflicts of interest. I think that the board itself can avail itself of social media, the community listserv, surveys, encouraging attendance at board meetings, giving notice of every decision that's coming down the pike as to what's going to affect this town at large. And all of those things can better inform the community and better ensure that we have transparency in government. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
As a member of the board, I would be open to sharing any thoughts on why I made a decision that I did on a vote. All of our board meetings are public for folks to come and see what's happening or be in their home and watch what's happening. Through our website in town, they can then go back and rewatch if they want. I too believe that we need to be ethical and transparent, and I think that our current board does do that as well, and I would continue to follow along that path.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
I will continue to attend the town board meetings, and I am very vocal, and I plan to continue that vocal.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stewart?
Yes, transparency is very important, particularly in a board such as ours. And in order to ensure that that continues, I would ask residents to be involved in board meetings, to read the publications, to view the television recordings that are produced. And thank you, sorry. And would encourage them to look at the broadcast. It is very important for us to be transparent as a board, and I believe that we are, and I believe that we will continue to be. I do not believe that there would be any difference with having us and having myself on the board. I would be open and to listen and provide feedback to any of the residents that would be interested in that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Melia?
Yes. Without transparency, there's no trust to the community. The transparency is essential. It must be there. And I would echo Mr. Stewart's comment that every public meeting that's held in the town of Superior is videotaped and audio taped, and you can watch it any time of the day or night online. You can also attend the actual meetings. I haven't attended a lot of meetings outside of the Planning Commission meetings that I'm attending, but I watch 85% of them online at midnight at 5 a.m. That's how you need to be involved. But to have transparency is essential. We can't lose the trust of the public.
Thank you. And Mr. Reese?
You know, I think that something that could be very, very important to our community is that when we look out and at a board meeting, whether in commission meetings, that there's very limited participation in the audience here in the town hall. And I think that, you know, if we would look at organizing a committee for active engagement that can reach out to citizens and try to get more people actively involved, bring them to meetings, keep everybody involved on a more direct level, whether they watch it on TV or they show up at the meetings. I think it's a lot more impactful for a transparency aspect if people attend the meetings, and I'd be open to social media, keeping everybody informed of the actions that are going on.
Thank you. Now for the next question, we'll start with Mr. Lasis. And the question is, do you think the number of hotels planned for the town is appropriate?
Conceptually, yes. Right now, we just last night, the Superior Board of Trustees approved the first hotel, which is the Elements Hotel, that's going to be going in the town hall, town center development. It's our first hotel, and it's a step in the right direction. It's going to cater to people who are visiting the town center development, staying to participate in sporting events at Boulder Valley Ice. And it's something that's deeply needed, and it's a means for us to diversify our tax base. Currently, 85% of our tax revenue comes from 5 retailers, and we desperately need to diversify that tax revenue so we're fiscally sound as a community. So I think that additional hotels are appropriate, and they've been master planned through Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees, and I think that they are a welcome addition to our town.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
I, too, attended last night's board meeting and saw the Element Hotel, which I do think will be a nice addition to the town. I think extended stay for families who might come in and use the sports stable or the other fields that are planned in town for tournaments and things like that will be a nice increase to our revenue. I think that hotel having 112 rooms is a nice number to have. It's not too large. That's what helps with that there might be extra opportunities for other hotels to come in if they keep the room numbers reasonable. And that seems to be the case at this point.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
Yes, I do believe that the number of hotels planned is adequate, and we have to start small with what they're starting, but we do need that revenue desperately.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
I would agree, and I would say that based on our current needs, I would say that, yes, the number of hotels that are being proposed is appropriate. I think that as our town continues to evolve, however, our needs may change, and then our board would have to look at that and see if more or fewer hotels are needed. But based on our current climate and our current needs, I would say yes.
Thank you. Mr. Melia?
Yes, I agree that the number of hotels is appropriate. I don't think that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Reese?
Yeah, I agree. I think the number of hotels planned are appropriate, and the different level of service and the variety of scale and services is very important in the development of the different hotels, not just in the town center, but those that are on the eastern side of town that are planned for other developments.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly?
The great thing about having a plan is that a plan can change. We have a great plan right now. We have proposals coming forth from various developers who are willing to take the risk on our community. As a Board of Trustees, we must look at each of these proposals carefully, see if it fits in with the needs of our community, and make decisions about whether what they suggest to us is right for our town. Hopefully, as we continue to evolve, we will find that all 5 are the right fit. If they aren't, then we can make a change and we can decide not to develop all 5.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll start with Ms. Dunham. And the question is, should the town of Superior have a rec center?
From the town's survey out to residents, there seems to be a strong indication that people would like a town center. I think that there may be a need for it, but I do think that we need to do further community engagement to gauge if that need is how we see it.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
Yes, I do believe that we do need a rec center. It's fine that we have worked with Louisville and been able to use their rec center, their library and that. But this is the 21st century, and we need to have our own facilities within our own town limits. And a rec center can offer just the wide variety of programs and entities that this town is involved in and desperately needs the further.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
Again, I would say yes, and that is based on the feedback that I've heard from residents of our town. I think the majority of those people would like to have a rec center, and personally, so would I. With the nature and the amenities that we currently have in our community, a rec center would be a very nice addition. And if we could work something out and it made sense for us fiscally and within the limitations of land that we have, then I would support that and say yes, that we do need a rec center.
Thank you. Mr. Melia?
Yes, I've seen the surveys from the town residents, and there's a want for a town rec center. I think in time, with proper planning and review and hearings and community input, I think we should have one of our own here in the town of Superior. There's many different plots of land that the town owns where it could go. It could go in different places besides the town center. And so I would support one, and I would be excited to research it and look into it.
Thank you. Mr. Reese?
I agree too. A rec center, a teen center, land outside for fields and things like that, just for the youth of our town, is vital. When I go over to Louisville Rec Center, I see a lot of teens playing, and we don't have enough amenities in our town for teens to give them something to do. I also think that for all ages, rec center is very important, and fiscally, if it fits into what we're working towards, I think it's a great idea. I'd like to see something that is definitely scalable and move forward with a rec center as needed.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly?
As a member of the committee that developed the 2014 Indoor Space Survey, I'm quite aware of the depth of questions that we asked our residents on this topic. While our residents have stated, 2/3 of our residents stated that they wanted indoor recreation facilities, we also heard from more than half that they also wanted indoor aquatic facilities and a library. I believe that before we make a decision, we need to delve deeply into this data and see what the appetite is of our community for this, and to look at the fiscal realities of building this in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis.
As a father of young boys who spends all summer at the South Pool, I know and appreciate how much I personally desire an indoor swimming option and a rec center. And I would say, yes, it would be great to have a rec center. However, they are really expensive. And every time I go to Paul Durda in Broomfield or the Apex Center in Arvada, I am jealous of those amenities. But they are really expensive. So before we commit to spending $20 million on a rec center, I think we should first see if we could partner with someone like Lakeshore Athletic Club and see if there's an option where we could have reduced membership for Superior residents, so we can avoid spending $20 million on a rec center. But ultimately, if that's the decision that the town wants, that's something that we should consider. But I think we should explore all options.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll start with Ms. Forshee. And the question is, are you willing to meet with residents who may strongly disagree with your stance on town issues?
Absolutely. There is not enough communication between town board and residents at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
Yes, absolutely. I would be willing to meet with residents. There are many forums that we could use to do that. There are opportunities to meet at coffee shops or local businesses and talk about some of the issues that are important to them. And in terms of having residents that might have tough questions or may disagree with what the board is doing, I personally would not have any issue with anyone bringing their concerns to me. I am a very good listener and would take that in and talk with them about what their needs are. And then if it fits with the needs of the town's vision, I would certainly bring that to the board and make sure that that person's voice is heard.
Thank you. Mr. Malia?
Yes, of course I'd be willing to meet with residents with opposing views on different issues around the town. Actually, it was yesterday afternoon. I had a resident. I was doing crossing guard duty over at Superior Elementary School, and I had a resident come up to me when we started talking about the town center, and they had some misinformation, so we kind of cleared things up for them. But that happens weekly, that somebody will approach me in the middle of something else and discuss town business. So, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Reese?
As a director of facilities management, overseeing 46 facilities in North America, on a daily basis, I wind up meeting with people who completely disagree with decisions that are made, whether it's locations of cubicles or office space or parking. We go through this constantly daily, and I'm willing to sit with every single person that comes in front of me, discuss our options, and give them a reason why I make a decision in that reason. And so I'd definitely be willing to sit down with anyone who wants to discuss town matters.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly?
Absolutely. I'd be willing to meet with any and all residents who agree with me or disagree with me. Throughout my career, I've had to listen to many, many constituents in the nonprofit organizations I work for who disagreed with the direction that our organization has taken. Often, I have learned and our organization has grown because of differing perspectives that have been brought before us. This is the way our community grows. This is the way that I grow, and I welcome the opportunity to work with and meet our constituents.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis?
We live in a representative democracy, and as a trustee, we have an obligation to represent all residents not just those who agree with us. Just this past week, I met with residents at the Chili Fest and learned a lot about their perspective on the town hall expansion, for example. I met with residents from Original Town and got to see things through their eyes. I met with residents at Waterford and had the opportunity to walk the buffer zone and got to see their perspective on the town hall, the town center expansion and the developers' actions in that regard. You learn a lot by doing so, and you get the opportunity to see things through their eyes. So absolutely, I would welcome every opportunity to meet with any resident who is interested.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham.
Yes, of course, I would want to meet with any and all residents about any issue. I like data, and I want to make the best decision that I can. So to do that, I need information. So certainly, I would be open to meet with anyone in town regarding town matters.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart will have the opportunity to answer this question first. The question is, what are your thoughts on the proposed $2.8 million cover for the pool?
My thoughts on that, excuse me, are that it is a very good idea. I think that to be able to use our pool year-round would enhance the amenities that we currently have in place. I think that a pool with a cover like that would be able to bring people together more often and more frequently, which I see as a very good thing in our community. As a board member, one of the things that I would do is look at projects such as that, and ways to bring people together, to remove any divisive barriers and bring our entire town together. And I think that by having a gathering place such as that, it would be a good idea and that we could accomplish that.
Thank you. Mr. Malia.
Yes, I like the idea about a pool cover. My concern about it, which would be up for discussion, and I'd love to hear more information from the town residents about it, is how we could recoup some of that cost. Get the facility rented out and start recouping some of that cost to make it worthwhile. So it's not just a $2.8 million cover for the residents. So we could recoup some of the cost that was involved in putting that up there.
Thank you. Mr. Reese?
The cover for the pool, it's a viable option. We do have, a lot of residents who are looking for a full-scale rec center. If we were looking at splitting that into two different options, where a covered pool is in one area, a rec center is in another, it kind of divides families of, going off to do one thing, going off to do another. But as the others have said, that it's a great place for everybody to come together year-round. But I also just believe that, financially, fiscally, we would have to do a lot more research, find out from the citizens what they want to see, and provide those two options and see where they fall.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly?
Over the past several years, the town has chased after many shiny objects, including indoor meeting space, pickleball courts, pool covers, and a recreation center. We have data available to us, which we have not used to make decisions on things like a pool cover, a recreation center, and or pickleball courts. I firmly believe that making a decision on something like an indoor pool cover is premature. We should use the data available to us and also consider looking at updating our Prost master plan and how this fits into the needs of our community.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis?
Personally, again, I would love to have an indoor swimming option for my boys, but I'm here to represent the entire town, not just my boys. I don't think that the town board should rush into finding ways to spend money. Last night, the board considered preliminary sketches of a cover to the North Pool in their work session. I saw those sketches as well. But I'd like to know what a rec center would cost. I'd like to know if there's an option for us to partner with Lakeshore so we could have reduced town resident membership there before we rush into putting a cover over the North Pool, particularly if what the town really wants is a rec center. And I wouldn't want us to waste money spending money on a cover that would then be redundant if we had a rec center available to us. So I think we should be cautious in how we go ahead and spend money.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
Since moving here, I realized swimming is a big deal in Colorado, much more than in my previous location. I, too, was at last night's work session and saw the pool covers. One of the things I think we'd have to look at is time versus money. Is it time to cover the pool now, or is it time to look at the survey and determine that it's time to do a rec center? I don't want to rush into things, but I don't want to kick the can down the road either. I think if it's, the board's job is to make a decision and look at the data and figure out the best plan for the town.
Thank you. And Ms. Forshee?
Absolutely, I would not support the pool cover. That money would need to go toward the rec center if we're going to pursue that avenue.
Thank you. And for the next question, we'll start with Mr. Melia. And the question is, what is your opinion on town hall expansion?
Town hall expansion is a hot topic. It's been debated back and forth, and there's lots of pros and cons to it. One is the financial aspect of investing that much money into the town hall, and the other aspect, in my opinion, is the consolidation of town services, so it's kind of one-stop shopping for the town residents. I like the idea of expanding out the building in the back here on the property that the town owns. I also have heard from original town residents that they're very much opposed to that. They would like to keep it residential. So it's a very hot topic, and I think it needs to be discussed more.
Thank you. Mr. Reese?
So I think one thing is the town does have multiple locations that a town hall could be built or expanded on this property. I think that it's imperative that we get all of the town staff together. And sitting in the other night, we spoke with a sergeant from the sheriff's department, and he said it's very vital for him and his crew to be near the town staff, and currently they're separated. So I think that we need to look at all of the options, all the locations. Could be some areas in town center, but I think fiscally we need to understand what the impact would be here, expanding out versus building out in a new location. And then, but I don't think there's a need to fully rush into this right now.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly?
I believe that the town hall expansion is an example of how we have not done our homework in engaging our residents in a decision of this type. Before we can move forward, we need to gather the facts on all the options that are available to us. Where could we put it? What should it look like? Should all of our staff be in one place? Once we have gathered that information, we should engage our citizens in where they think it should be, what it should look like, and then move forward with planning a facility that is appropriate for our town.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis?
I'm opposed to the expansion of town hall as it currently sits, and I'm disappointed with how the town went about it. Anytime the town is going to make such a major decision, such as the expansion of town hall, we should start first with outreach to the residents in the neighborhood that is going to be most effective. And that didn't happen here, and the town did not listen to the residents of original town. Instead, the town decided to do it, and only after that decision was made did it seek any input from the community. And to add insult to injury, that input was only about the look and feel of the design. It wasn't about the decision itself. So what should have happened instead was, first, there should have been outreach to determine if there's a need for additional space. 2, identify all possible sites where the expansion could be located. And then 3, to determine what those costs would be of locating all those options in those particular sites. And throughout the entire process, there needs to be sufficient community outreach. And only after we have buy-in from the community should a decision be made.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
I've sat in many of the meetings for the town hall expansion, both from the board level back in February and March when it came up as something that was going to be reviewed, as well as the meetings that have gone to the community. We have 31 full-time equivalents of staff that work in town and 3 part-time staff, and I think they do a tremendous job for our town. When I look at all the town events that we do, I don't necessarily want to build them the Taj Mahal, but I do want to look and gather the data and figure out, is this time to expand? Is it this location to expand on? I know there's a lot of concern about having a substation here on this site, so I'm not sure that that's the place to be, but I think that we need more data and more community engagement to make that decision.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
I absolutely approve the town hall expansion, but not at the degree that the staff has designed it. The sheriff needs to stay where he is at in the rented property in Superior Marketplace, but the conditions that some of our town employees work in is absolutely deplorable. I tried 5 or 6 years ago to talk to staff and tell them that at that time they needed to start working on expanding the town hall. But town staff had other ideas of, and I will spare you my rant about that. But yes, we need a town hall. We need it expanded now, but not to the degree that staff wants to do it.
Thank you. And Mr. Stewart?
Thank you. And when I look at the needs of our community, I believe that an expansion of our town hall is absolutely necessary and needed. I do agree that we need to take time and look at what options are out there and available to us in regards to location, in regards to cost, and also in regards to who gets housed in our town hall. I feel strongly that getting our staff on one site is very beneficial to our community and to our residents. And I would very much support going forward and looking at the options and take into account what the residents' needs are, what they desire, and also what our town needs to continue to grow.
Thank you. Well, we've all made it around. We still have more time and several more questions. So, Mr. Reese, we'll start with you. Do you have any association with the developer for the Superior Town Center or those who have the ability to approve financing? If so, what is your plan to recuse yourself from decision-making?
I do not have any personal relationships with the developer. The only time I've really seen the developer is here in the town center, and so I don't feel like I need to go any further, and I wouldn't. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly?
I do not have any personal or professional relationships with the developer. At any time that there is a situation where I would be possibly on a one-to-one basis with the developer, I would plan as a trustee to recuse myself and never meet with any organization or individual who represents someone who is coming to our town for a partnership that involves the financial resources of our town.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis?
I have no relationship with the developer, nor any relationship with any entity that would finance any part of the development in the town center. As a lawyer and as ethics counsel to my law firm, I'm well aware of conflicts of interest, and I would certainly recuse myself if any conflict arose. But in my time as a planning commissioner, I have not had to recuse myself because I have not had any conflicts of interest, and I don't anticipate that I ever will.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
I don't have any personal or professional relationships with the developer or anyone on the financing committee for that. I too would, if the opportunity, or not the opportunity, but if it came up that I had a conflict of interest, I would disclose that and then follow the advice of the town attorney about what I could and could not do as a board member. with that.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
I have no financial or professional connections to the planner at all.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
Neither do I have any professional or personal relationship with the developer. My relationship ends with when I see presentations brought forward by the developer in Planning Commission. And we review those and go over those with other planning commissioners. But that is the extent of my relationship with the developer or anyone that would provide financial support to the developer.
Thank you. Mr. Melia?
I too have no relations professionally or personally with the developer of the Superior Town Center.
Thank you. And we'll start the next question with Ms. Hammerly. And the question is, what is the biggest issue facing Superior in the next few years?
In my opinion, the biggest issue facing the town of Superior is responsible development of Superior Town Center and all of our developable parcels in this community. As a trustee, I commit to thoroughly review them, to act with integrity and independence, and to provide transparency in every decision I make, and to always engage the community.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis?
I want to see the town center develop into a thriving, vibrant downtown. I want to diversify our sales tax base. And right now, 75% of our town's revenue comes from sales tax, and 85% of that sales tax revenue comes from 5 retailers. And that's a problem. Coupled with a 30% commercial vacancy rate in Superior in the marketplace, and that's the highest in the Denver metro area, we need to do more to attract restaurants, retailers, commercial businesses, and office space to ensure that the town center is a success. And if it is a success, we will all benefit from it.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
I think that the biggest issue facing the town is fiscal responsibility. So meaning we need to make sure that we attract the right revenue sources and bring that in, and part of that is the Superior Town Center. So we want that developed with the appropriate allocation of retail space, office space, hotel space, residential, civic, and park. But I think it all comes back to we want all of these things. We want rec centers. If we have things that we need to do to be a viable town. Do we expand our town hall? And all of that comes back to being fiscally responsible.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
I agree that we need to be fiscal, financially stable, period. And the diverse that we do need to get in the town center. There's also the Rogers Farm property. There's the property up on Colton Road. All of that needs to be looked at very, very closely for development.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
I believe that the biggest issue facing the town of Superior over the next few years is the development of the downtown center. I think that there needs to be outreach to several different types of businesses. It was mentioned that there needs to be some diversity there, and we need to look at attracting not just corporate businesses or franchises, but also bringing in smaller businesses and business owners. I believe that by doing that, we can bring our community together and get us on the same page around some of the issues that have divided us over the last several months. I think that by making sure that everyone has input into how the development occurs to some extent will bring the community together and will allow businesses to come in that are vibrant and sustainable.
Thank you. And Mr. Melia?
Yes, the biggest issue I see for the town of Superior in the next several years is the development of the town center. It needs to be done appropriately and correctly, And with the right amount of study and the right amount of speed, there's a timing that has to happen with the town center, and it needs to move forward, but it needs to move forward smartly. It needs to move forward with proper review. There are several other parcels of land around Superior that have been looked at for development. I'd like to see those come out of the ground as well and have those projects start to move forward as well. But I think the multifaceted project that the town center is, that's the biggest issue, and that's what we need to really take our time and focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Reese?
So I think the development of all of the parcels in town that have come before the Planning Commission are extremely important. However, the town center is by far the most important. And the proper development of this town center to make it vibrant and to make it economically feasible, allowing businesses to survive and sustain. The urban core needs to be, we need to make sure that there is a core that is sustainable, that can allow the residents to visit all of these businesses, and which will result in a tax revenue that will be able to fund all of the other projects. And as we move out to the growth of town center, I think it's very important that we look at making sure that there are smaller houses, ranch-style houses that will serve other generations of town people that are starting to leave our town.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll start with Mr. Lasis, and the question is, do you or your family have any business ties to Ranch Capital?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
No, I do not.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Malia?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Reese?
I have a favor. Would you repeat the question?
Sure. Do you or your family have any business ties to Ranch Capital?
No. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Hammerly?
No, I do not.
That was called the rapid fire round right there.
Was that worth more points? Or?
Okay, for the next question, we will start with Ms. Dunham. And the question is, how much time did you devote to community activities in the last year, and what was your biggest accomplishment?
So I have devoted a lot of time in the last year. I have served on the Open Space Advisory Committee. I served as the liaison to the Parent Engagement Network for Eldorado's PTO. I was every Tuesday morning, rain, shine, wind, I was a crossing guard for Eldorado's morning crossing guard duties. I gave an hour each week to teach Sunday school at my church, but my biggest accomplishment of the last year is raising 2 healthy boys.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
I don't keep track of the number of hours that I do community service work. My biggest accomplishment within the last year has been creating a Veterans Memorial at the Buckhorn Valley in Masonville, Colorado, Larimer County.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
I would have to agree with Gladys there. I don't keep track neither, but I do serve on the Planning Commission, and we have meetings on, I believe it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. No, I'm sorry, Tuesdays, 4 times a month. And I also have coached youth sports. I've coached basketball for one of our middle schools and as well as high school. I've volunteered on Gold Crown. I also am very active in my community, passing out literature for different organizations, and the number of hours that I've done that, I can't tell you. So a lot is the short answer.
Thank you. Mr. Malia.
Thank you, Lynn. From being a crossing guard at Superior Elementary, I know what you feel like there in the wind, and the rain and snow sometimes. I haven't kept track of my community hours, but they are a lot, like Mr. Stewart has said, between Boulder Valley Lacrosse, Superior Elementary, volunteering at Superior Elementary, El Dorado K through 8, Monarch Little League, with the town of Superior and with the HOA. It's a tremendous amount of time I devote to community activities. What's my biggest accomplishment? I would say I recognized a few years ago that the initiative at Superior Elementary to get every kid a Chromebook, so there'd be a 1-to-1 ratio of Chromebooks to students, and we achieved that this year in Mrs. Buck's class at least.
Thank you. Mr. Reese.
I don't know how many hours I've contributed or devoted to this type of thing, but I do serve on the Planning Commission. I coach a 14U competitive softball team for girls that we, during the summer we'll play 45 to 60 games in the season. I just finished a few week ago. I kind of led the charge in replacing the Monarch High softball home dugout. We tore the whole thing down, rebuilt it all within a 3-day period. Actually, kind of got extended. But as far as hours go, I was talking to my uncle about running for this position, and I said, my plate is full, and he said, what kind of plate do you have, a dinner plate? And I said, yeah, and he said, well, it's time to step up to a platter. So that's where we are.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly.
I'm extremely fortunate in my professional career. I serve the community every day, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, as I work at a community food bank and provide compassionate service to people in need in our community. Over and above that, I spend countless hours as a board member at the Summit at Rock Creek, and I also have attended all the meetings of the Parks, Recreation, Open Space Advisory Committee, and have attended most of our board meetings in the past year. My proudest accomplishment is the park that we are building up at El Dorado K8, and hopefully we will all have the opportunity to enjoy that in October.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis.
I have spent several hundred hours donating my time to the community as a member on the Planning Commission, as a member of the Colorado Bar Association's Ethics Committee, as an appointee by Governor Hickenlooper to the Judicial Performance Commission in Boulder. I've spent several hundred hours in all of those endeavors, but my most proud achievement was representing a preschool teacher at the Primrose School on Colton pro bono, who unfortunately found herself in the middle of a lawsuit, and I donated my time, which totaled something like $30,000 worth of legal expenses, to represent her, and took that case to trial. We won, and the feeling that I felt giving my time to her and helping her through that situation was absolutely priceless.
Thank you. And Ms. Forshee, we'll go with you first for the next question.
Excuse me, the time period was from 7 to 8 p.m. for this forum?
It's been extended to 8:30, am I right?
On the list that we was given from Phyllis, it was 7 to 8 p.m. We were not notified that it would be extended to 8:30 p.m.
You check with our organizer.
I'm sorry, it says 7 to 8:30.
Our sheets do not. It's 7 to 8 p.m.
The letter that was sent, I'm sorry, letters of all the candidates was 7 to 8:30.
We were not notified that it would be extended to 8:30 p.m.
I'm sorry, but the ground rules, I have a copy here, and the letter of invitation says 7 to 8:30.
We were not notified of that.
We have copies of the ground rules here, and based on
There
the
is
ground rules
also,
letter.
we have the book that we were given by the town clerk, and it is 7 to 8 p.m.
The calendar says 7 to 8 p.m. The ground rules say 7 to 8:30
Exactly.
p.m.
There's an error someplace.
Somewhere, yes.
So There has been an error, but I would like to proceed. We do have additional questions to ask, and I would like to proceed with maybe one or two more, and then we'll go ahead and wind up.
That's violating our rights.
I think we're going, as the candidates agreed to abide by the ground rules, and we have a copy that the ground rules stated that. So thank you for your
As a
patience and
candidate,
understanding.
we accepted the instructions that Phyllis gave us. Those overrule your rules.
No, I don't think they do.
Well, they do, because they're the town of Superior. You're not the town of Superior.
Ms. Forshee, I'm asking and all the candidates if you would go ahead and let us finish out the forum. We'll have a couple more questions and then closing statements.
Yes,
Would you
please,
like to
thank
take
you.
the next question? The question is, from your perspective, are there issues to be resolved between Old Town and New Town?
In the first place, Old Town is improper. It is known as Original Superior on the map. So yes, there are differences to work out between Old Town and New Town.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
Excuse me. Based on my communications with people that live in Original Town, I think that there are some issues that need to be resolved. First, I think that a lot of the people in Original Town feel as though they have lost their voice in terms of government and how things are run and operated. And I think that as a board member, I would be sure to include Original Town as well as the Rock Creek subdivision and area in all decisions that are made and by the board and by myself. I believe that it speaks clearly to some of the divisive nature that has occurred that needs to be resolved and taken care of.
Thank you. Mr. Melia?
Yes, there are many issues between Original Town and New Town of Superior. With the town center coming up, I think there's a great opportunity to highlight the original town of Superior. As other communities have highlighted their historic districts or their historic downtown areas, we have one of those. And I think along with the town center, the original town property in the area needs to be looked at and brought up to speed, so to speak. There are definitely differences. I think the residents of Original Town do feel a little unrepresented on the board, but from my standpoint, I see them clearly. And I think having a historic area like that is fantastic, right adjacent to a brand new town center.
Thank you. Mr. Reese?
Yes, definitely. Speaking with citizens, I believe in the Original Town, they've felt an encroachment on their property, their space over many years, whether it's with the Target Center and Target and all the commercial space, or Remington coming in, and now Town Center. All of these borders are kind of closing in on Original Town, and with limited representation, I think that there are some issues that need to be resolved, and I'd be willing to work openly with everyone in Original Town.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly?
I believe there are differences between the needs and wants of Original Town, the needs and wants of the single-family homeowners in Rock Creek, as well as the individuals who live in the apartment complex and multifamily units in Rock Creek. This is not going to go away. As we continue to develop our town, we will have neighborhoods and areas with different needs and interests. Our role as a board is to listen to all and to work hard to bring them all together in a shared vision for our community.
Thank you. And Mr. Lasis?
Thank you. I attended the community open house on August 31st, and I listened to and heard the comments and concerns of the residents of Original Town, of Sagamore, of Rock Creek. I heard their concerns about the nature and character of their neighborhood. I heard their concerns about the impact of traffic that has occurred with the Remington development and the threats that are posed from the expansion of the town hall. But whether you're in Original Town, Sagamore, or Rock Creek, we're all in Superior here, and we all live here. So we can always do more to foster a sense of community, and I think we should, and I think we are. And I think we did that on Saturday at the Chili Fest. I think we have opportunities to do that at movie nights at Community Park during the 4th of July parade. So we can always do better to foster a better sense of community, and I think that that's something that we should strive to do.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
When I first moved here, within a month, I learned that it wasn't Old Town. It was Original Town, having misspeaked. And yes, I do think that there are some concerns between Original Town and the other neighborhoods in town, but I agree with Mark that we are one community, and every neighborhood should have a voice, and every neighborhood should be listened to. Original Town is where our town grew from. There's a tremendous amount of historical things there. I'll be here on September 30th with my second grader to do our walk through Original Town. It's a great event if you have the opportunity to chaperone that. But I do think that every voice in town deserves to be heard.
Thank you very much. So now we'll move on to closing statements. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll go in reverse ballot order, starting with Mr. Malia. Each candidate has 1 minute for their statements. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Lynn. Since moving my family to Superior in 2006, it's been wonderful for our family. I've truly loved living in Superior. My history of being involved with Montclair and my community service in Denver and that community when I lived there translated here into Superior, and even more so because I had children here. We had one child when we lived in Denver, but we had twins when we moved to Superior. Whether I'm on the Planning Commission or whether I'm on the Board of Trustees, I'm not going to stop what I've been doing. And I think a lot of you have seen me out there doing what I do. And so I'm just going to let that stand for who I am and what it's worth.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart?
Thank you. I am running for a position on the board because I believe that my vision for a future Superior closely resembles those of my neighbors. I believe that we can have growth in our town without losing the values important to us, such as having an inclusive, unified community, having excellent schools, and living in safe neighborhoods. We have entered into an exciting time in the evolution of our town, and we need to look no further than across the street to see what will be downtown Superior and our nearly completed park on South Indiana, or in the development taking place on McCaslin and Marshall Road. I believe that we need a council that will listen to and serve the best interests of our residents, and I would be honored to serve as a member of our board.
Thank you. Ms. Forshee?
I understand the demands of the trustee position, and I will work to achieve legal government, extensive review of issues for the town of Superior, Boulder County, Colorado residents, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Dunham?
As I stated at the start of this forum, over the next several years, there will be many decisions facing our town. I will provide a thorough review of each issue and would vote to ensure the best result for all our residents. That balances growth, fiscal responsibility, safety, and enjoyment. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the residents of Superior, and my fellow candidates for the opportunity to share my views with you this evening. I look forward to the election and am committed to helping Superior continue to be a town that thrives. Please cast your vote for me, Patricia Dunham.
Thank you. Mr. Lasis?
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and to all the residents for being so engaged. I have met with residents in Original Town and heard their concerns about a town hall expansion that could drastically affect and alter the nature and character of their neighborhood forever. And I have met with residents in Waterford and walked the buffer zone, and I understand how they feel about a developer encroaching upon their backyards. And I have met with residents in Rock Creek and small business owners and heard their concerns about growth of our town and the challenges they face in an uncertain economy. I have no personal agenda, and I have no conflicts of interest. I only want what is best for our community, my kids, our future. I promise to always be available to listen and to represent your interests as trustee. I ask you for your vote, and I promise to give it the respect it deserves. Vote Mark Lasis for Superior Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hammerly.
After 13 years as a resident of Superior, my decision to become a candidate for the Board of Trustees is not something I have taken lightly. When elected as your new trustee, I commit to do the following to earn the trust of you and Superior: to exhaust opportunities for listening to all segments of the community, to make objective decisions after careful analysis and review of available data, to stand firmly for transparency in decision-making, to always prepare thoroughly for meetings, and to focus on responsible use of limited financial resources, applying the same fiscal discipline to the town's decisions that I apply in my own life and my own business. I will put in the work to carefully review and research all proposals, to engage the community in decision-making, and to be less concerned about how fast and more concerned about how well our community grows.
Thank you. Mr. Reese.
Thank you again for your time tonight. I've been an active participant in our town government through the Planning Commission, and I'm ready to for the opportunity to represent our community on the board. I think a lot of people attend or watch the board meetings question why anyone would want to serve in the town government. The meetings can be contentious. It takes a lot of time and research of the issues and make informed decisions. But to me, being part of the process is what is exciting. I want to be able to say that I left a positive mark on our community. Superior is made up of a lot of cul-de-sacs, small streets. Many of you live on cul-de-sacs and know that it's part of what gives our town a unique community feel. But we have the opportunity with the town center to create a community cul-de-sac, a gathering place where people can go every day, not just on 2 special days of the Chili Fest or 4th of July. The decision to build the town center is one of the largest, most important we have faced in our recent history. I saw the work, the time, and the energy that went into this decision. The people who serve on this board have a responsibility to listen to the community, do the research, and help guide the future of this town. I hope I earn your vote.
Thank you. I want at this time to thank each candidate for participating in this forum. I'd also like to thank the league members and town members who served as timekeepers and ushers and question reviewers. Thank you very much. This concludes the Superior Town Board of Trustees Candidate Forum. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Boulder County, thank you to our in-person audience as well for participating. And everyone, remember to stay informed and exercise your right to vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.